I want to congratulate you and We the World on the 20th anniversary of 11 days of global unity. Together, you, me, and we can create a better world and have fun doing it.
Thank you, Dr. Jane Goodell, for helping We the World and all our partners to celebrate over 20 years of 11 days of global unity. And thank you for joining us. Welcome to the 11 Days of Global Unity Summit. My name is Birgit Ben-Eli, and I'm the Director of Strategic Engagement and International Outreach for We the World. Today, I'm excited that we will be joined by our host, Subrata Banerjee, and our special guest, Issa Akkawi, who will be talking about human rights, the eighth theme of the 11 Days of Global Unity. For the full 11-day schedule, you can register for free by going to 11daysofglobalunity.org. That's the numeral 11. There you will find access to all the 11 days broadcast. You can also visit we.net to take action with the 11 campaigns for change, subscribe to Trans Magazine, and you can support this global work by contributing at we.net/donate. A heartfelt thank you to all of you who make this possible. Before we bring in our speakers, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge some of our incredible partners, I wish all, who we support and collaborate with during the 11 days of global unity and throughout the year. The UN International Day of Peace NGO Committee, Peace Day Philly, the Unite for Peace Coalition, including Unity Earth, the Sign Network, One World, and Hubcast Media, the Awakening World, We the World, May Peace Prevail on Earth International, United Religions Initiative, Pathways to Peace, Global Silent Minute, Children of the Earth, Climate Week, the Deep and Rapid Transformation Convergence, Good News Broadcast in Times Square, and Pace e Bene Nonviolence Campaign. Together, these groups represent millions of people working to achieve global unity and peace. This movement is a living example of what becomes possible when we act from interdependence, compassion, and shared purpose, all working with We the World and the We campaign at we.net. Now let's bring in our host, Subrata Banerjee. Subrata Banerjee is an accomplished international development public policy leader with over 18 years of experience advancing gender equality and social justice and systemic reform, serving as an international development and policy advisor at We the World. He has led transformative programs with the European Union and Plan International and provided gender policy guidance to international governments across Asia. He has collaborated with UNDP, UNICEF, UN Women, the World Health Organization, UNFPA, and the World Bank, shaping policies that promote women's leadership in parliament, peace building, and climate justice. Recognized for its evidence-based research and advocacy, Subrata has worked to dismantle gender-biased violence, influence policy reforms, and strengthen inclusive systems of care worldwide. Welcome, Subrata.
Thank you so much, Birgit, for the nice introduction. And as we know that today we have very important discussion, especially on the issues and challenges facing by the children. And under the banner of human rights, we will be discussing this topic. And we are very happy to invite our main guest, Mr. Issa Akkawi. He's a Palestinian lawyer, and he has three most important aspects of identity. First of all, he is a successful lawyer and the member of Bar Association of Palestinian Bar Association. Secondly, he is one of the most successful product of SOS Children Villages mission in Palestine. And after taking the care under the SOS Children's Villages in Palestine, gradually he became a lawyer, a professionally trained lawyer. And third, very important aspects of his identity is his work mainly focus on human rights and children's rights. since he has grown up and had lifelong experiences, very strong experiences in child rights issues and human rights issues, living within a children's village of one of the very renowned international organizations that is working more than 134 countries in the world, SOS Kinderdorf International. He has earned all these experiences while living at the center of this village, and he also collaborated with many other children within the society while he was living at the care of SOS children villages. As we said, that his main area of focus is children's rights and human rights issues, where he has been doing everything, especially as you know, during the normal time, as we know that globally, children are affected due to violation of rights, children's rights, violation of child protection issues. Everywhere it's rampant. But when there is a war, there is a crisis, when there is a conflict situation, when it's a difficult situation, children's become one of the most exposed to this kind of violent conflict and face wrath of these kind of challenges. So that creates lots of problems, not only for the children, not only for the family, but the entire society, entire nation. Today we are facing, Palestine is facing critical challenges of war, and due to bombing, random bombing from Israel, and there are lots of challenges. Very complex situation is very complex, and within these conditions, Mr. Issa is doing lots of work, very hard work, and very dedicated work he has been doing all through his career. And as you know, that during the war, displacement is one of the critical areas, not only displacement of children, displacement of the families, but they are also divided from their parents, from their family members. That creates another problems, challenges for the children, where they will grow up, what kind of security, safety they will have, their food, shelter, security, everything have become a great concern for themselves as well as the local community at large. And in this process, in this way, Mr. Issa has been supporting all these children, youths, adolescents as much as possible within his community area and beyond that. And he, in 1992, he has done a wonderful job by founding Children's Villages Graduates Association. This has been, they have been working for the well-being of the children, especially those who are living out of the children's villages. So in that way, he has been engaged in many ways, protecting the children, supporting the children, for the well-being of the children and well-being of the family at large in Palestine. So today, he will be speaking about the concerns and the issues, challenges facing by the children in Palestine and the adolescents in Palestine region, followed by the war. And he will be guiding us what kind of actions could be taken in resolving this crisis in future course of time. So thank you so much. Right now, I would like to invite Mr. Issa to take over to take over from me this kind of opportunity for delivering your lectures. Thank you so much. Over to Issa. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very, very much. Thank you for the introduction. I'm a very humble person, yeah, and actually I'm not doing it alone, what you have said, but we are, as an SOS care leaders, we are doing it together. It is a thank you, looking back to our SOS Children's Village in Palestine and international. Therefore, I would like to thank you for granting me the space to speak today. I stand before you not only as a legal strategic and advocate, but as a proud SOS care leaver, someone shaped by systems that were never built to protect us once we exist alternative care, and by communities. They failed to teach us how to survive simply because they refused to see us. And this is the most important issue why we have established Children's Village Graduate Association. Today, I speak on behalf of adolescents in conflict-affected regions, young people who are not merely surviving, but actively reshaping the very framework that once left them out in Palestine. Resilience is not a slogan, it is a lived daily practice of resistance, care, and reimagining. What I share here is not about territorial occupation, but rather about the deep roots patterns of thought within our society that continue to shape and often constrain our realities. So, in this session, it is divided to 7 parts. I think I will start with the first 3 parts, and perhaps we have to go for a break for 2 or 3 minutes, and then I will continue with the other parts, if it's okay with you, everybody. And I hope I will try as much as possible to focus on adolescents and on youth and on how the international way of seeing such youth, communities seeing such youth, especially those who are without any biological family ties. So let's start with part 1. Okay, now reframing adolescence in conflict. Global frameworks too often depict adolescents in conflict zones as passive recipients of aid, but that portrayal is not only incomplete, it is fundamentally flawed. These young people are not merely vulnerable, they are political actors. They navigate the harsh realities of occupation, displacement, and systemic neglect from their own communities. And despite the weight of these compounded burden, they organize, document, and defend their dignity in ways that directly comfort and destabilize the very structural that marginalize them. In Palestine, informal care networks are virtually non-existent, yet the SS Children's Villages Graduate Associations has emerged, not as a substitute, but as a modest, self-organized force of solidarity founded by SS care relievers and extended to those with parallel experiences such as refugees and adolescents outside of the SS and outside of any alternative care institutions. The association is grounded in a simple but radical belief. These young people are not waiting to be included, and that's very important. They are actively trying to lead. Despite limited sources, it supports its peers, amplifies their voices, and insists that meaningful leadership must come from those who have lived through systemic neglecting and exclusion. And this neglecting and exclusion has pushed us towards developing our policies in Palestine, starting from Bethlehem, West Bank, going to Gaza Strip. But unfortunately, this time we can't act in Gaza Strip because of our very, very limited resources. Part 2. Let me be clear. Now, those who are hearing me from the UN, let me be clear. UN frameworks do recognize the rights of adolescents, but recognition without enforcement, is symbolic. And symbolism alone is insufficient in conflict zones. Yeah. What we witness instead are persistent contradictions, and undermine meaningful engagements. And I think when I've studied the UN charters and other, Red Cross and so on charters, I found actually 7 to 8 contradictions, which I will try now to explain, but briefly. First contradiction. Okay. Symbolic inclusions versus structural justice. UN frameworks often showcase youth participation as a progress, yet this inclusion is largely symbolic. Young people, especially caregivers and refugees in Palestine, are asked to share stories, not to shape policies. Their presence is acknowledged, but their agency is denied. This performative engagement preserves the status quo. Institutions claim youth involvement without ceding power, framing adolescents and beneficiaries rather than co-authors of justice. In conflict zones, this gap becomes dangerous. But youth are not passive. They are organizing, resisting, and demanding accountability. Structural justice means shifting from consultation to co-governance, funding youth-led initiative, embedding their expertise, and recognizing lived experience as a policy intelligence. Again, I repeat, as a policy intelligence. We can't form their lives. They are the one who can form their lives. Maybe we help, yes, but we can't form them. We can't form their future. They are the people who can form their futures as the SOS care leaders and other at the same position. This is not a call of inclusion. It is a demand of distribution of power, narrative, and legitimacy. Now, funding promises versus grassroots realities. Now, global institutions, and this is a problem. Global institutions often pledge support for youth-led initiatives, but in practice, funding rarely reaches grassroots movements, especially those led by SOS care leaders, refugees, or adolescents in occupied territories. Perhaps they still do not trust us, and perhaps they are going to contribute in neglecting us. In Palestine, survivor-led groups like SOS Children's Village Graduate Association operate on minimal resources. Despite being closest to the crisis, they are asked to contribute insights but not trusted with budgets. Their expertise is acknowledged, but their autonomy is underfunded. This contradiction reinforms dependency. It rewards proximity to institutions, not proximity to lived experiences. And this is very important because I have, as a person, I'm living myself and I'm living my life, and I know how, to try to make policies for others, for other peers who are facing circumstances that I have faced. Structural justice demands direct funding, flexible support, and co-authorship, not token grants or symbolic partnerships. And from my experience, the symbolic partnerships becomes the way how many institutions are generating donations, are generating monies for their institutions. No, we don't. This is absolutely wrong. We can't use other people, just for a symbolic, show off. Youth are frequently invited to consultation. This is the way. Round tables and forums. Their voices are recorded, sometimes even celebrated, but rarely are they given discussion-making power. Their recommendations are diluted, deleted, or dismissed. And it had happened since 1992. And still, in Palestine, adolescents are consulted on policies that affect their futures, but they are not empowered to shape those futures. This creates a cycle of reformative engagement where youth are visible but structurally irrelevant. Co-governance means more than listening. It means embedding youth leadership into institutional frameworks. It means shifting from extractive dialogue to shared authority. Anything less than that is participation without power for them. Now, human protections versus political reality. It is another contradiction. International humanitarian law, particularly Fourth Geneva Convention, 1949, affirms the protection of children in occupied territories. Article 3 and Article 38 explicitly prohibited violence, arbitrary detention, and inhumane treatment of minors. Yet, in practice, these protections remain aspirational. Enforcement is sporadic, politicized, and often absent, especially when adolescents are detained, surveilled, or displaced under occupation. In Palestine, the contradiction is stark. Adolescents are subjected to military detention, administrative monitoring, and forced displacement. What I mean by administrative monitoring, by those institutions who are caring for them, and forced displacement after leaving such institutions, after leaving alternative care in institutions. It is a displacement. These are not isolated incidents. They are thematic outcomes of a political reality that overrides humanitarian commitments. The language of protection is present in treaties and resolution, but it rarely translates into accountability and relevancy. And this is a big problem. And from this problem, these are some of the results. Homelessness among youth is a particularly relieving symptom. It is not simply the result of poverty or neglect. It is often caused by a community itself, by our community. We can't always say the occupation and the occupation and the occupation. No, our community has a big role. Through rejection, stigma, or institutional failures, as I previously said, and there is no material infrastructure to absorb this crisis. Housing, psychosocial support, and transitional care are virtually in existence. The absence of the material basis for protection renders legal communities hollow. As for the transitional care, I can tell you, in the SS children's villages all over the world, they have their own, plans tools, and so on. But already it started lately. You know, SS Children's Village has been established since 1949, and from 1949, I can say till 2005, such transitional care was not very, very clear. So before 2002, we have a lot of victims. I usually call them victims of the system of the SOS. And by the way, I love the SOS. I am proud to be an SOS, but we have mistakes also. We are not perfect. The absence of the material basis for protection renders legal communities hollow. Now, concerning the data, this has to do with the state itself. Data-driven policies versus invisible population. Statistics are used to justify funding, shape national priorities, and evaluate impact. But when entire population are excluded from official data, they are also excluded from the policies that claim to serve them. This is not a technical oversight, it is a structural failure. Between 2023 and 2025, while working on multiple census projects with the Palestinian Bureau of Statistics, I witnessed this contradiction firsthand. Stateless youth, informal care leavers, and street-bounded adolescents were consistently absent from statistics or also from national statistics. The realities, complex, mobile, and often undocumented, did not fit the rich categories of enumeration, and so they were rendered statistically invisible. Yes, we don't have statistics because they still don't understand that we became each and every day, each and every year, a greater number. They don't want to understand this. They like to keep their problems under tables, not over tables to be discussed freely, frankly, and on spots. Palestinian society, like many others, continues to view these individuals as isolated cases, exceptions for the rule, but they are not exceptions. They are growing demographic, shaped by displacement, institutional neglect, and legal ambiguity. Their exclusion from data reflections is deeper discomfort. Acknowledging them would require confirming failures in care, protection, and citizenships. And I can tell you, we have faced or ran into many, let me say, teenagers who still do not have identification regardless where they are living. You know, some of them are living in Bethlehem, they don't have ID cards. So it's like me. I have 3 names, you know, and I have 3 places where I was born, and I have 3 mothers, and I have 3 fathers' name. And this is a holistic story of mine. This needs sessions for people to understand and perhaps to listen to. Okay. The United Nations Youth Strategy 2018, particularly Pillar 5, champions youth engagement, participation, and advocacy. It calls for meaningful inclusion of young people in shaping policies and leading changes. Leading changes and shaping policies shall not be virtual. Yet, in practice, the pathway to leadership is obstructed not by lack of capacity among youth, but by institutional gatekeeping. Funding and influence rarely flow directly to youth-led movements. Instead, they are funneled through international NGOs, UN agencies, and government actors who often impose their own agendas. Yeah. Since I raised you, since I invested in you, you have to follow my own agenda to try to form your future, to try to reform your way of thinking, to keep you silent. Yeah, and this is very, very, very dangerous. Someone must express himself on ground, frankly, and before everyone. Either he likes it, or she likes it, or she doesn't like it. But I have to express myself. Perhaps a word from me will change the world itself. Okay, governments and government actors who often impose their own agendas, frameworks, and timelines. Even when youth are consulted, the support they receive is conditional, translated through the priorities of external institutions rather than the lived realities of care leavers, refugees, or street-bound adolescents. These contradictions shape who is heard, who gets funded, and who is erased. I have to go through, I don't want to, to make it so long. So these contradictions, especially visible in Palestine, they are really very visible in Palestine. Youth-led resilience is not theoretical. It is active, urgent, and self-organized. Groups like Issa Akkawi's Village Graduate Association operate with minimal resources, yet they build solidarity, document violations, and advocate for structural reform. Their leadership is not symbolic. It is a strategic, but they are really or rarely trusted with direct funding, policy, authorship, and institutional autonomy. A corporate gatekeeping, whether by NGOs or state actors, preserves control under the guise of partnership. It rewards compliance, not innovation. It extracts use narratives for reports and campaigns, as I said, while sidelining youth leadership in decision-making and resources allocation. Well, and this is, try to honor the spirit of the UN Youth Strategy. To honor the spirit, this is very important, to honor the spirit of the UN Youth Strategy, institution must shift from gatekeeping to co-governance. That means directing fund to youth-led organizations without intermediaries, flexible support that adapt to grassroots realities, not institutional templates, policy co-authorship where youth are not just consulted, but empowered to draft, negotiate, and implement. Youth-led resilience is not a failure aspiration, it is a present reality. And I think it is a present reality. The question is whether institutions will recognize it as such or continue to translate it into frameworks that dual its power. These contradictions, all of them, do more than distort policy. They shape reality. They determine who is heard, who is funded, and who is erased. They decided who is resilient and recognized and who is suffering and anonymized. And until these contradictions are comforted, not just acknowledge, sorry, global frameworks will continue to reward proximity to power over proximity to truth. And this is the way they are working, still working. Sometimes, if I confess that I, in the past, did this and that, it is a part of solving the problem. It is a part of solving the problem. If we are serious about rights of adolescents in conflict zones, we must move from symbolic inclusions to shared structural leadership. Here are 5 strategic shifts we must share. I will only try to read them because each of them is 4 to 5 pages of explanations. So, 1, from protection only to co-authoring. 2, funding youth-led initiatives directly. 3, embedding political analysis in humanitarian responses, establish independent monitoring mechanism with youth representation, and finally, support the collection and recognition of participatory data that adolescents are trying to lead. Now, these shifts, these are not technical fixes. If we are dealing them with technical fixes, then we will fail again. They are moral imperatives, and they start to be trusts. The SS Children's Villages Graduate Association is a model. As I said, we have experience since 1992. Is a model of what possible when lived experiences drives policy with meaningful international support. CVGA can do the following. If we find really a real support, technical, fundamental support, expert support, we can do the following. Participate in formulation of national and global protection policies, youth-led monitoring leadership for UN compliances, operating resilience centers in fragile areas. This is very important. Representation of care leavers or care graduates and stateless youth in global forums, producing data that makes the invisible visible. But this requires more than recognition. Actually, it requires direct funding, political access, legal protection, and technical partnership. And by the way, I've already started to, since 2006, we are trying to write a law for those care leavers in Palestine, and it is ready, but it was rejected, unfortunately, because we don't have legislative, people. We don't have them, but it is ready. And I think people from Argentina, SS care leavers, did it, and they succeed to do that. They have a legislation panel, and they did it. Now, this is my closing reflections, and I can say I hear it from many. It is not personal mine. I've heard this from many. They were shouting, they were shouting, but I have to make it a little bit polite because people want to hear it. We don't need more frameworks. We need frameworks that listen. Listening is very important. That means ombud people. We don't need more protection. We need strength. We are already, trying to protect other people, but we need people's strength to help us to continue. We don't need more clarity. We need a sound to every policymaker, donor, and humanitarian actor on this platform. If you are building a policy, ask who is missing. Unfortunately, we were missing. We were missing, and we were missing. But we could overcome. If you are funding programs, ask who the leadership is. If you are listening, listen to those who survived the systems and are now trying to redesign them. Again, systems must be redesigned by those who lived harsh in systems and who lived good in systems. We have to take both white and black sides and try to do as much as possible for the sake of the adolescents, youth, and for our precious children. And it is very important. Our mission is trying to say we are not going to recycle children again into institutions. If we are saving those adolescents now, youth, and SS care relievers, and they are stable in their lives, with their, let me say, newly generated new families, a mother, a child, and a father. Yeah, and as much as possible, support them to strengthen their independency in the community, then we are avoiding recycling children, for instance, into SS children's villages. And this is very important. And this is one of the most important things that we are trying, to push for. Now, our these recommendations, were set by care leavers, SS care leavers, out of 4 meetings. They said, including myself, promote structural youth leadership, reform of international financing mechanism, integrating policies analysis into humanitarian responses, and developing youth-led monitoring mechanism, recognition of invisible groups in national planning, which is very important in the Middle East and North Africa, build technical and ethical partnership with survivor-led organization, and support CVJ idea in data protection, policy formulation, and representation of invisible categories. And I would like to thank you. We value your opinions, your participation, and your continued support. You are partners in creating change. Listening to our voices is very important. It is not an opinion, or it is not an option also, but rather a moral duty that reflects your commitment to transparency and mutual respect. This journey is not completed without your interaction and constructive contributions. We cannot go on. But we promise you to go on even with very limited resources we have. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your very detailed analysis in all aspects that you have covered, and integrating SOS Children's Villages role, responsibility, and how it is linked with global policy structure, SOS policy, and how it works somewhere, or how they are not properly working in some ways, and how there are lots of systems challenges. And social, cultural, political, legal issues that need to be considered in regard to this overall systems challenges and the crisis that we are facing. At the initial stage, you have said that, as usual, that the children's economic, social, political, and challenges that they facing by the children, especially the structural challenges, social challenges, and deep structural issues like traditions, very deeply embedded in our society, in many traditional societies, culture, in all societies, culture, it has happened. And even in our societies also, this is happening, and it's a great challenge for every one of us to resolve this kind of crisis. And secondly, you have discussed global framework of UN policy programs, as well as the humanitarian laws. This is important, that while we are talking about this kind of crises that are happening in Palestine and the challenges facing by the children, youth, adolescents, men, women, everybody within the society, they are facing a lots of challenges, and of which most of the challenges are facing by the most vulnerable communities, especially the children, women, young girls, as well as adolescent children. So when we are taking into account all this, we need to be very much careful about it, how the problems are created, and the actual and origin of the problems, and how collectively we can resolve this crisis in future course of our time. Thirdly, you have said about the laws. It's very, very important in every country, even in UN systems. There are beautiful laws, beautiful code of conduct, a lot of things. They developed lots of things. But who cares? Who
Yeah.
cares? There is no system of accountability within this UN system, even within the international global framework of the systems. So there are challenges. So laws is always important, but the laws which could be implemented properly, actualized in reality, that would be helpful for each and every children, youth, adolescents, that would be beneficial for all. If we made only laws, if we only develop laws only for the sake of developing only the laws, this will not help to anyone, because the main objectives of developing a law is to support certain conditions, is to support certain kind of problems, is to facilitate certain kind of challenges facing by the community, children, women, men in a society. And if they do not support them, what is the use of it? So that is why the challenges we are facing, the big challenges we are facing in terms of accountability. It is not only a global framework of laws, but it is also the challenges we are facing in local, regional, as well as national level. In most of the countries, we have very good policies. We have very good laws, constitutional laws. Who cares? The people who are coming to power, they always try to neglect them. They always try to avoid them and try to impose their own wishes on the people, on the institutions, to fulfill their own petty personal interest over the interest of the society, community, children, as well as young girls, adolescent girls. So that creates lots of problems for all of us. So another thing you have discussed, the stigma and social exclusion, transitional care is important. Social stigma is very, very challenging thing, as well as stigma, social exclusion. Social stigma is social exclusion, stigma lead to actually social exclusion of many children across many society, in every society, even in America, even in Europe, even in Asia, even in many, many countries. So this is one of the biggest challenges we are facing, and in which in many countries, civil society organizations, they are working day and night how to build up innovative system, how to build up certain kind of trainings, workshops, how to build up certain kind of mass awareness programs so that people can be aware of it and change their mindset and resolve the kind of crisis facing by a community, children, youth, adolescent in any society. Another thing you are saying about the systemic challenges. Systemic challenges is big challenges in every society. As we said, that systems, when there is no particular system that runs through the particular laws, particular clear-cut laws, then it runs into a lots of problems for everybody. So there is something written in the constitutional law and the system does not follow it. System is doing different kind of things based on the fiat and the order of the head of the institution or the prime minister or the president or the councillor or the any political leaders in any society. So that hampers the interest of the children, and it is not only hampers a little bit of rights of the children. It's a gross violation of human rights. When you are violating constitution, you are denying constitutional laws. That means whoever it is, from common citizen to the prime minister or the president of the country, both or all of them are violating the laws, the grand law, the main law, the constitutional law of the country. So this has been happening in many across many countries where the fascist dictatorship is now ruling across many countries. So in our experiences that we have seen, there are lots of challenges, and to resolve this, people are very much motivated and they are taking the street, and there is a mass movement against this kind of authoritarianism. There is a mass movement against dictatorship, fascist rule across many countries. So this need to be changed, and for this, masses need to be aware about it, the legal issues, legal problems, legal things that are there in the main work of the Constitution. So if we don't, if we are not aware about the constitutional laws properly, then we will not be in a position to understand how this political leadership systems exploiting us every day in every moment of our life. So our life will be precarious. Our life will be in danger. That is why many countries, they are suffering. In Russia, they are suffering. Most of the common people, they are suffering. And across many countries, especially where the fascist dictatorship is in power. So that creates a big problem. Another thing is that you have said social inclusion needs protection, very good protection, very good governing system, and it needs political analysis, M&E system, and consultation recognition. And yes, we know that it needs lots of issues, challenges, and to make it sure that if we developed a plan to do certain kind of things, develop certain kind of things over a future course of time, we need to do a lot of things to maintain and to manage, monitor all these kind of things step by step, so that we can measure the progress of the things in future course of time. Otherwise, nothing will happen. We can't see the result in future course of time. So that is why we are talking about the management, measurement of the things that we have been doing, and what are the progress we have been achieving over a period of time. Another thing is that you have mentioned reform of national and global policy. It's important. Global policies are reforming is extremely important, because global policy, if they are not reformed well, that lots of international actors, especially the state heads, especially the prime minister, presidents, head of the states, who are mismanaging everything, who are doing everything problematic for the country. So who will be managing this kind of people? We have International Court of Justice in Hague. We know this. There are legal instruments are there. But how, with all these things, how a country is still bombing a small country and declared the war after declaring war more than 3 years back? So institutions are there, legal framework is there, but the country is still bombing a small countries, killing innocent citizens, millions of innocent citizens. It's very, very dangerous. And what is happening in Palestine? Why? There is institutions, and International Hague is institution. We have international laws in place, international humanitarian laws, but why they are not able to change the situation in spite of all this kind of policies, programs, strategy, laws, everything, and still there is no solutions for the challenges that are facing by Palestine, Ukraine, and many other countries in the world. And they are in which most of the children are suffering, women are suffering at its worst. So these are the challenges. That is why we are calling for reform of these legal systems, legal institutions. And it is also true, we have plenty of laws, plenty of things right at the moment, but we do not need any more laws. But whatever existing we have, we need to reform it and make it sure that it should be concrete and it should be effectively engaged in removing all the problems, issues, challenges facing by the children around the world. And you have recommendation, you have given structured youth leadership, which is extremely important. Integrating policy for youth development, technical partnership with other organizations, transparency and accountability, all are important. While we are talking about youth leadership not only needed for the development of youth, but development for the society at large, development of the international community at large, because we will be in the next generation, they are very much enthusiastic to take the leadership and to take forward the mission of the society in which we are living today. And those who are violating the constitutional law, global law, international law, policy, they must be displaced from their position so that they can take over this leadership from them and take forward the mission of the society at large. At the same time, integration of the policy of youth, it is important. We need to integrate this policy at all levels of youth development. And technical partnership, because without this kind of technical partnership, we can do that, because as we said, there's legal, political, social, cultural, lots of economic, environmental, many other challenges are there. Each and every challenges need to be understood, studied deeply, so that we can understand how they are linked with each other and how we can serve, how we can support each other for the collective well-being of all the people. And at the same time, we need transparency and accountability. These are one of the greatest challenges we are facing today, especially in fascist regimes around the world. There is no transparency, there is no accountability of the leaders. They are doing everything against the community, against the citizens of the country, against the well-being of the country. So that needs to be changed at any cost. In this way, I think our discussion on this very much fruitful, and we need to focus on that, more focused on these issues, legal issues, and how to recover international community, the children, youth, and the leaders, youth and the adolescents from this kind of challenges that they are facing today in course of 10 to 15 years of our time. So thank you so much for your lecture, and over to Birgit.
Issa, thank you so much. Go ahead, Issa. You want to respond?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I would like to thank Subrata for his comments, and I feel I understand what he's saying. I do understand it very well, But I still, as Issa, trying to concentrate as much as possible of those SOS care leavers and those who are in the same situation. So if we are exceeding the problem, I think we don't achieve anything. But let's focus on small than start step by step. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Issa. And I fully understand where you're coming from, because it's like at some point, this is so complex and multifaceted. And if we focus on everything, we might not get anywhere. So I agree. And Subrata, you're right to address all these problems, and they are there and they have to be all worked on. But thank you so much, Issa, for your really important and powerful presentation. You reminded us that adolescents in conflict-affected regions and care leavers are not passive recipients, or in your words, they're invisible. They're visible but irrelevant, or visible yet invisible. That they are vital experts, and their lived experience holds the key actually to reform and healing. And thank you so much for bringing your wisdom and knowledge and experience to this panel. You always have to contribute a lot, and I think we can certainly go on and on here and continue this conversation, which I would love to. But we do have to somehow close. And what we do, we have a call to action. So we are promoting the hashtag urgency for action. That's urgency, the number 4, and then action. So hashtag urgency for action. We are using this in all of our activities. So may I ask both of you, and let's start with you, Issa, what would you like people to take action? Just if you could briefly just,
Well, people won't take action unless I, send for your kind attention my presentation. At least they will read and they will choose. I can't oppose anyone to take an action if he doesn't or she doesn't understand what I'm trying to do. So I believe you and Mr. Subrata will help me in distributing my presentation. It is written. It is written. Every word I said is written. Actually, because of time, I couldn't read it all. And this is a great help for us. And I will leave, a connection or a way of connecting us, email, telephone, and a connect person. So I will be
Issa, we will see you again, and we will re-invite you, because we all know we just touched upon the surface and there's so much more to discuss. And so since you just mentioned email and everything, so before I go to Subrata, maybe you'd like to let our audience know, how they can reach you. Is there something, again, mention what the organization and website, perhaps email, whatever you like, what you'd like to share with our viewers?
Yeah, my email, well, our website is under construction, unfortunately, because we don't have enough money. But my email, my personal email, I'm deeply very sorry. I'm talking facts. Yeah.
But that's what we need to know, right? There's no way of pretending otherwise.
This kills us, this kills us from the very end of our hearts, because we are trying to help people, but we cannot sometimes. Anyway, this is my email, imma.akawi@gmail.com. And my WhatsApp, if somebody would like to call, is +972 59 88 44 805. My name is Issa Akkawi, and our organization name is Children's Villages Graduate Association in Palestine. And we are not only working for Palestinians, no. We are working in the territory where all who needs us and who wants us to help them. And we were the people who really visited the SS children's villages in Nerodim in Israel and in Galilee. And it was, you know, a good experience for us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Subrata, a call to action from you. I'd like to hear this from you.
I think Mr. Issa already has discussed few things as recommendations. So he talked about structured youth leadership. So structural change is needed for leadership of youth. We are talking about youth development a lot, but leadership development is also needed. And also in that respect, secondly, he mentioned integrate policy, youth policy in the program, youth program. So youth policy and programs will be specifically collaborate with each other, and so that it will work for the best interest of society. And he also talks about another third recommendation is technical partnership with different kinds of organization, local, regional, and global level, so that they will have more options and opportunities for more exposure, learning, and knowledge building scope. So in that regard, youth will be able to understand what is the situation, reality around the world complexity, so that they can take forward the leadership for the best interest of society. And the fourth is finally, he has said that transparency and accountability is extremely important, and we have to implement them at all levels of our administration in all of our organizational work, so that each and everything that we are doing to achieve certain kind of goal, we will be in a position to reach that goal over a period of time, on time, for the best interest of the society at large. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Subrata. So you go ahead.
Can I add one important thing?
Thank
you.
you.
Now, it is understood that youth are those from 18 years to 25. Actually, I disagree with this, because some or many of them from 18 to 25 do not get the opportunity to build themselves up in a good way because of the surrounding circumstances and social measures and so on. But what I believe and what we all believe as Children's Village Graduate Associations, we consider a person who didn't get an opportunity to build himself or herself up, we consider him as a person in need of our support. So I do not think defining youth from 18 to 25 is correct. Every person needs our help. We are ready to support, and with your all support. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Issa. So let me just give my brief call to action, which is echoing your voice of your presentation, that we have to recognize the reality of the dual displacement and create a structure, where survivor voices are not only symbolic, but central. So when we listen to and empower those youth, adolescents, and as you just mentioned, everyone in need, who have walked through conflict and need the care, we can transform the system of exclusion in this context. So we have to invite and empower the adolescents, or all those in need, to lead so they can form and change their future. We have to listen to their voices. We have to listen to empower them. We have to include them. So again, thank you so much for both of you for being here. Before we close, I'd like to mention the We Power campaign. It's about the power of we, millions of us coming together to transform our society, to prioritize the common good. To help us launch the We Power campaign, please go to w.net/WePowerCampaign. And again, let me thank you and both for being here. It was so incredible to listen to you, Issa. And thank you, Subrata, for hosting and for joining us here. And thank you all for watching this and for being part of the 11 Days of Global Unity. To get involved, go to we.net. So what we do at the very end, that we go from a me society, that's why we created, or Rick, our partner, created We the World, to a we society. So to create a world that works for all. So again, thank you both.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate that you were here and
Thank you very much.
contributed. Thank you so
Thank you very much.